I should also welcome you all and indicate our appreciation and the fact that you've been able to come at short notice. This is the NCA quarters, NCA head office. What I want to do is two things. The people you are seeing are our leaders. What I want to do, two things. First, to give an accurate account of what happened yesterday. Then secondly, indicate what the position of the organization going forward is. So two things. What happened yesterday, and then what is the way forward from the NCA position. Yesterday we witnessed, barbarism at its best. We had a meeting here. We meant to have a meeting, a consultative meeting of the NCA organs, drawn from all parts of the country, including Harare. The purpose of our meeting was to discuss our strategies of opposing Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment number 3. It was not a meeting to say, are we in support or are we not in support? It was a meeting knowing very well that our position is fixed. We think it's nonsense that should be rejected and that we should campaign against it. So we were meant to discuss the strategies of how to go about our opposition. Because it was an internal meeting consisting of the leaders of the organization, in terms of the law, and the law is very specific. When a political party is holding such a meeting of a consultative nature, of a structure, of a board that is set out in terms of its constitution, that political party need not notify the police under MOPA. That was also even the position under POSA. And in addition to that, where you are having a meeting within your premises, and I think all members of the media, you can see, where a closed place, the only place that is open is the gate, but which is closed with, this is a private place, owned by the NCA. The government knows, you go to the government, you go to the deeds registry, you will see that this property, 348 Heritage Table, Bumbiro House, you will see that this property is owned by the NCA, who are the owners of this building. So they know that. And so in that kind of private environment, you don't notify the police. And you shouldn't, because the law does not require you to do that. And we have never done that in the past, and we will not do it in the future. So we were having our meeting with the tents that you saw going out. Then the police came. They had done that 2 days earlier when they abducted our members at the meeting that they held here. I'm sure that is already in the public media. And they parked the 2 vehicles outside. Then they were entertaining other vehicles that were not marked as police vehicles, but without number plates. And these people will come in and out. Those persons were actually also members of the police or a security establishment, with a very clear coordination between them. When the meeting was about to start, in fact, someone was making an announcement in the tent that we are waiting a few minutes so that we can now start. Other people who were still arriving from Harare will join us in. They thought the meeting was kicking off because there were people there. Then they forced their way at the gate. There were people at the gate, the members that were ushers there. They forced themselves there with all forms of arms and so on. What we saw with the battle sticks and other things that were hidden. You also know that they then fired the shot. Now when they did that, I actually went to them to just find out what was, because some of our members really wanted to confront them and say, look, why are you coming to disturb us? We are a political party, we are in a private space. We know that ZRP is currently organizing meetings everywhere. Even as we were doing our meeting here yesterday, ZRP was holding what it was calling consultative meetings in the provinces, at their offices or at some other place. And so there was that. So I feared that there might be an ugly confrontation between our membership and the police. So I came in between and said to our members, please, let's just go back, we hear one. And they couldn't give me a chance to have a conversation with them. And they fired shots in the air, which scattered everyone. And then they came for me, they started beating me up, left, right, and center. What was wrong? Etc. But because I wasn't running away, I was just sitting. I had taken the position we used to do in the past, where when such events occurred in the past, you would sit down and then you will be told under the First Republic, you will be told that you are under arrest. And you will normally not be beaten further once you have more or less surrendered, which is what I did. So I sat there. But But that was again an opportunity to come back to me. They would go around, chase people, then you come back. At least each one of them had to give me blows. I think about 5 or 6. Like they'd arrange that you can't go away without beating this person. They're beating all over. And then you got our members who were beaten, other members who wanted to come to me to get my phone and so on. You have effort who was there and so on, who also suffered just because he wanted to come to the aid. So it is that unprovoked attack, which then left 17, now that's the number, 17 of our members injured, all sorts of injuries. I think you are aware of that. We then took them to 2 medical institutions, one at the Avenues Clinic, and the others were taken. Here I must mention the Doctors for Human Rights that came in and said they will assist with part of our course. But yesterday's thing was totally unwarranted, and I must put it on record that it was the police. It can never be anyone else, because it's not a matter of doubt. It was the police. So when they left here, the police vehicles were still parked outside. And some of them went out, got into these unmarked cars, others joined the police vehicles. They left together. So came in different ways. The police, the uniformed police first, and then these other people coming in. But when they were then leaving, they left together. So our intention was very clear as far as we know it. The idea was that if anything was going to happen to those people, we would be told that we have stoned police officers, we have resisted the police authority. But if that didn't happen, then we would hear the narration that we were not involved. That's the trick. The trick is that if they get away with just simply torturing you and so on, without them receiving any blows in return, the police will say we don't know who they were. But if you were to attack them in one way or the other, you will then be accused of, they will become police officers the moment they received that sort of thing. So they therefore disrupted the meeting. They beat us up, as you saw, but all our members were then treated. And the last person to be discharged from observation at the 2 hospitals was at around 8 p.m. I was among those who were the last ones from Baines Avenues Clinic, 8 p.m. And so all our members are recovering now from home. No one is still in hospital. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's no one is still in hospital as we speak. They were all released with various bruises, etc. I have seen a purported statement from the Zimbabwe Republic Police, which says that the NCA made an application, or they notified us, and then we responded to say that there were irregularities, and then they went ahead with an assignment meeting. I'm very much disappointed by that, because that's a lie. It's not true. The NCA never informed the police about the meeting on Saturday. We would not have informed them. We know the law of the country. An internal meeting does not require police notification. So we never did it. We never received anything from the police, and therefore it is a complete fabrication by the police, if that statement belongs, if they are owning it up. But I've seen that government spokespersons are doing the same. I am advised here that I think it's Mr. Nick Mangwana in one of his tweets has been propagating that lie. It's a known lie, but this lie is not a small lie. We as an organization are taking it seriously. Why would the police force lie? Because they know they never received a notification from the NCA. They know they never engaged anyone from the NCA. But why are they putting it across as the official position? It's actually they know that they were involved in the process. So we also know that their aim is to say, well, you should come and report to us. Now we've discussed it as a leadership, and we are very clear. We're not reporting anything to the police. Why would we report this to the police when they are the parents? We know it. It was the police that came in to do that. So we are not stupid. We are a political party. We know the political methods that are being used by ZRP and its government. It is abusing state institutions for its own ends. So we cannot be so stupid as to go to the police. If anyone cares in this country, if anyone is running the country and wants to observe what is, they know. They should take up any action if they want to look at what clearly happened. So I must make it clear to the media, and I'm happy that the NCA never made a notification. It will never make a notification. This is a private building of a political party with rights here, and we'll continue to have meetings here. And I thought that like what we're having, and we thank the journalists for coming. This is our boardroom, this is our place, and you're covering us here. That's where now we'll have all our press conferences here. So our place, and that is the freedom. No person in government has the right to interfere with that. And then what is coming out is that they are saying, if you are opposing the bill, you should not say out anything. But if you are in support of the bill, then you can say something. What worries us, and we have got information to that effect, Parliament has published a purported invitation to members of the public to send emails to a given email. They've also said you can submit something physically at Parliament building. Now what they are going to be doing, each document that is submitted, if you say something that they don't want, they will follow you up, and you'll be beaten up, or follow the track secretly. So you look at that, what kind of debate is that? You invite people, but once they are invited, you brutalize them. And then you brutalize them in the name of saying, well, these are people that we do not know, and so on. So that is my first part of the process. That's what happened, and that is the truth of the position. Going forward, the NCA has been in this game for a long time. We believe that there must be a genuine, people-driven constitution for our country. Genuine, people-driven constitution. That was our stance all along. Now what we are not stopping. These people know that we would not obviously be intimidated in silence. They know it. They know that also we believe in what we are standing for. So what they did yesterday is just outright torture, outright brutality. If you go by international standards how it is, it's a meaningless abuse of power. Just beat for the love of that process. So we are not stopping anything. We will be at the forefront as an organization of opposing Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment number 3. We will be opposing it. I can assure the nation that that bill will be defeated. Now I need to make sure that people realize that the defeat would come perhaps sometimes not as early as they want, but it will ultimately be defeated. Its evidence of defeat is that there will be elections in 2028. There is not going to be a 2030 thing. There is not going to be the nonsense of saying if you are elected in 2023 and you are a councillor, you remain and say, I will remain there. You are an MP, you remain and say, I will remain there. You are the president, you say, I will remain there. That is not going to happen. So that is what we will do, let me be clear again, because I've said that before. The first thing is what we are doing. We are mobilizing people, telling them what this bill is all about, what we can call mobilization and civic education. So that is the point number 1. Just exchanging information with people like we were doing. That's number 1. Number 2, we will use legal mechanisms available to stop. We also want other institutions of the state to play their part. We are citizens. The courts are there. This is about law. It's clear that the law will not allow what they've done. We want to test it. So there will be several legal challenges. And if we are lucky, the courts will stop this thing earlier than the process. But fighting through the courts is also going to go all the way and let people not lose hope. Let's say they still pass something in Parliament and say we've approved it two-thirds, and they send it to the president. That doesn't stop the fact that it is unlawful for a sitting president to benefit from an amendment. So 328, section 328 something will still apply. So we can even challenge the amendment when it has already been signed into law, and it can still be nullified. So people shouldn't lose hope, but we don't think we'll reach that far. There's also the challenge which will come where even if they succeed, we say we want a referendum. So the courts can help. So the courts can be very helpful at least 3 stages. Now before the 90 days are up, we might have a court challenge that can stop that. We've seen some of the challenges. Even after the 90 days, we might still nullify whatever is passed by Parliament. And then we can also enforce a referendum. So that will be the second stage, challenging that. If that fails, third stage, even if they were to pass it into law and say that they are there, we will be opposing them day in and day out and telling them that you are an illegitimate government. So come 2028, I'm just giving the public that view. Let's say in 2028 we end up with them in government without an election. They should expect that from that time they will be regarded as an illegitimate. So there will be a campaign of illegitimacy. So they won't enjoy that 2-year period that they are giving themselves. They won't enjoy it. They will be beating us up again, killing people, and so on. Let them kill people in the name of not wanting to meet the people clearly. So the NCA is there. I would say also, as I close, that the NCA is ready to work with other organizations who are similarly minded. So we are really open now to be able to do that. We have a place here, and there are other people with places as well. We will be able to give space for meetings here, and just again telling the police loud and clear, those meetings will be lawful. If you have a meeting taking place within this, we'll close our door and have our meetings inside. And when we have those meetings, it is our choice, it is our freedom as an organization to invite any of our friends here. So you should expect that there will be meetings here if people choose this place as a venue. Or we go elsewhere. Perhaps I thought I should make it upfront because we cannot fight a struggle under the table. A struggle is fought above ground and say, this is what we believe. I think that is clear. So the way forward, we are against, we'll work with others against. We want to defeat the bill. We will defeat it. And I've seen and have been listening to those that are promoting it. They are all people that show that they simply don't know what they are wanting except one thing, that they want to remain in power. How they'll go about it, I think they do not know. All the methods that they put on the table are not working. And that is where the panic is coming from. And that is what we intend to do. So thank you very much. The NCA is here. We are recovering, but we are already back in form. Sooner or later, you'll still activities, depending on which stage we are. I think those will be my presentation, and thank you very much.